Nobody's willing to take the risk of like getting deported and like trying to start their own thing, living on like one Subway burger a day. I was not necessarily from a very well-to-do background financially. I couldn't like just pay for masters, and come here. I used to just watch videos of Elon Musk. They were like, why should we trust you guys? We don't even know who you are. There's no brand, nothing. There's 10% chance of this working. But if it works, I get 100x returns. You can never win there. You can say, IIT. Oh, which IIT? Oh, Kanpur or Madras or like Bombay. Oh, then like someone's from Stanford or MIT or Berkeley. It's not necessarily the smartest person that makes the most progress after a decade. It's the most relentless person. Most people are like so upset when they use the word rapper. You feel like Salter, Kohli, Rohit Sharma are people that Dhoni took a bet on and didn't drop them from the teams and played the long game.
Aravind, thank you so much for taking out the time. It is amazing to see you in person after using Perplexity for so long. And congratulations for Perplexity turning 2 this month, in fact. That was like two days ago, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. So I want to start off this podcast with this tweet I just saw by Balaji, which is tech guys don't use Google search anymore. It's not just censored, it just sucks. Perplexity is better and you can set it as default, and then he shows how to do it. How do you get Balaji to say that? And how did we get here in the first place?
Yeah, so related to that, like Balaji, first of all, a lot of people replied to him saying, oh, Balaji, you're just an investor. You're shilling your portfolio, the company's product or something. But he actually doesn't do that. Like he's invested in us like in 1 year ago almost before. And he never wrote any tweets like praising Perplexity. So he's been using the product for a while, and like he would always criticize, this thing is not better. You guys should improve the latency here, or like you guys should make sure the results use sources from here, and like things like that. And like we've been obviously trying to do our best, taking feedback into account and stuff like that. I think he really liked our integration with Polymarket on the election odds. I think he really likes any ideas that are like, getting to the intersection of two things that are great ideas of their own, but the fusion is even more interesting. Mm-hmm. So Polymarket has this betting market, has the crypto elements to it. And obviously, Balaji is a big crypto believer. And he also likes Perplexity because it can surface so many different sources simultaneously. Doesn't have the political pressure that Google has to like succumb to like, responding in a certain way and things like that. Doesn't need to censor things. So, and he believes in all of that, like free access to information and stuff. So that's why I think he promoted us. And like the second part of the question is like, what did it take to get here? Obviously, like
it has been 2 years.
Long answer short, blood, sweat, tears, but specifically this, focus on making the search better and better every day. A lot of small things, like literally search. The good thing about search is like everybody knows all the problems you need to solve, but nobody wants to put in like years and years of work into solving them because it's a lot of work and like boring work. Sometimes you just have to like find bad sources on the internet and like ban them. Look at like what kind of queries are suscept SEO, measure a lot of evals on like how accurate your answers are, like all sorts of things.
Understood. But like, how would you define Perplexity today? And how did you get started with the whole idea of it? Because you've worked at OpenAI, you've worked at Google. How did that conviction develop? Because you're going up against the giants, going up against the big tech. So how did you get here?
Yeah. First of all, I think if you aim to get to building a search competitor, it's very hard to like even take the first step. I even say this, like if you go and tell people you want to take on Google, nobody will give you even a penny. But if you say you're going to work on a healthcare search engine, even if that idea is so flawed, people are willing to give you like millions of dollars because they think, oh, that one has no competition. Like Google's not going to work on like healthcare specifically. So it's just sort of this mentality. And we obviously never tried to like compete with them. Though the first idea I did pitch to an investor was, oh, like it'd be nice to disrupt Google. What if people could just search through their glasses and like, ask questions about what they see on the glass and stuff like that. but we were more narrowly focused on like just searching over databases, searching over documents, and things like that. But and like that, each thing as you accomplish, it leads you to the next thing. It's almost like very organic. So when we finished searching over like tables and stuff, we were like, okay, what if we could organize the internet in the form of tables and search over it? And that became like, okay, like what if we scrape Twitter and like search over like Twitter's data set? And then that excited a lot of investors. And then that led us like, what if we can crawl the web and search over it? Like, why do we restrict to one domain? And then this unique intersection of a new tool, large language models, and an existing tool like traditional search combined together created a very new, unique, differentiated experience. And we thought, okay, it's a good way to like make people ask and get answers. No competition with Google or anything. It's just like a tool you can use. But slowly over time, we realized, okay, this can actually be bigger than we thought. Like, there's no reason for people to use the traditional template search engine if this sort of technology works very reliably. And you always want to work on something where today's state is not perfect, but some years of work put into it will make it so good. You never want to work on something where everything's already ready and like you just have to go and build a business, because that means somebody else can also do it, and that somebody else, if they have a bigger business team, sales and marketing, they're going to beat you. You want to have that advantages of like working on something that's on the rise. It is still improving. There's still a lot of grunt work and boring work to be done to make it really work. And while doing that, you build the rest of the stuff as a company, like business and marketing and like growth and stuff like that. So that when you eventually land at a place of advantage, it's going to be hard to like compete with you, right? So this had all those properties, and finally, this was completely by accident. We realized that only after serving the product, we realized, okay, why is Google not building this? Obvious question to ask. Everybody on the internet is ready to remind you, oh yeah, Google's just going to add this as a feature. The one reason they cannot do this is like they've built the whole foundation on driving traffic to others. Like the more you click on a link, the more Google gets to claim credit for being the referral of the traffic. And the more it can claim that credit, the more it can charge the advertiser a higher fee for bidding on a certain keyword to get that click. And the more it can charge the advertiser, the more margins it can see on its business. And that is what drives its stock price up. And that's what lets it hire a lot of talented people by giving them a lot of compensation in stock. So when you break the foundation of this, when you start giving less referral, the advertising bidding is not as lucrative anymore. Advertisers start paying less prices. Your margins go down, and therefore you're no longer as valuable, even though you have like loads of cash and a lot of business otherwise. So this is the classic "your margin is my opportunity" situation that this quote is from Jeff Bezos, and it's historically applied to most innovator dilemma situations.
Yeah. So a lot of my audience which is watching this are people who are like 18 or 20. They're just getting into college. Obviously, what you've just said, there's a lot to unpack over there. But I want to go back to when you were 18. So you did your electrical engineering degree from dual degree, which was BTech and MTech from IIT Madras. That's like a dream college which everyone wants to get into in India. Even I participated in the IIT JEE Advance, rat race or the competition. Couldn't get in, but I got into BITS Pilani Goa campus. But take me back to when you were just getting into college. What was your mindset like? And what all skills did you learn throughout the process of going through the IIT journey and then getting into the PhD that you did over here in UC Berkeley?
Look, when I was 18, I wasn't like,
And that is 10 years ago or 11.
Like actually a little longer than that. When 2012, that's when I joined IIT. When I was 18, I don't think I had any maturity, right? Like, let me just be honest. Like, the only reason I did IIT JEE was because I wanted to compete. Like, I was very good at math, physics, chemistry, and there needed to be a yardstick to measure, and like you look at people around you and like, are you better than the rest? look, a lot of people in India are driven by the competitive nature, and there are some benefits to that. There are like cons to that too. And JE was a great exam. All the best students went and studied there in IIT, so I also want to be one among them. And so I entered with that sort of a mentality inside IIT. And that mentality exists inside the IIT too. The rat race is not just before getting in. It continues even after. It's like who gets like 10 out of 10 or like 9 out of 10.8 out of 10 in the first semester. Who gets to get good internships, right? Like who gets the internship in like Google? Who gets the internship in the end of second year itself? Who gets the best internships? Or for that, in order to get the internships, you got to do all these projects beforehand within the campus. Who gets to be part of these clubs? Do all these projects, and like so you're not just competing on the course grades. You're also like doing all sorts of other things. So nobody even actually clearly understands what is it they really want to do. Nobody takes a step back and thinks, okay, why are we even working on this? What is the point? Like, how does the world work? Like, you don't take any time to understand. You're just like constantly in like a mad rush. I was also like very much like that. But my first year didn't go that great. I got like really poor grades because the first semester I wanted to transition from electrical to computer science. Because
that is so me. Even I got electrical engineering.
Everybody does. By the way, everybody does.
Yeah.
It's not just electrical. I think any department wants to get into computer science. All the cool people study there. And then I missed it by like 0.01 or something GPA points. Very upset. So the second semester didn't go great for me. I was kind of disillusioned with the whole thing. And that's when like I got time in the summer. I wasn't doing any internship at the end of first year. I actually took time back to like just read. I went to YouTube, watched a lot of lectures. I truly understood like a lot of the fundamentals of electrical engineering. I said, why am I even in this department? Like, okay, I need to stay here for another 4 years. So I better learn what it is even, right? Why are we working?
I dropped out, but
then I studied all these things and I got more and more excited. That the third semester, I was truly interested in all the courses I took, and I didn't study for grades. And I just nailed 10 out of 10. That got me the internship from the end of second year. And from there on, like I realized I'm not in the rat race anymore. I'm whatever I'm interested in, I can nail it. And I'm not going to like compete with the computer science friends of mine or something like that. And I got excited about machine learning much before everybody was like, yeah, whatever, this is not very important. Like, go get an internship at Google. Then you get a pre-placement offer. Then you can make like after 4 or 5 years you'll have $1 million. Like, everybody was in that mentality.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I got genuinely excited about like AI and machine learning and neural networks. It did like Hinton's like Coursera class, Andrew Ng's thing. I actually watched the Stanford lectures too, not just the Coursera thing.
The CS231N?
Yeah, exactly. No. That's the Karpathy thing. His thing is called like 221 or something like that. I forgot the exact course number. There are some things you just have to like really put in the grunt work of like watching 1 hour long videos instead of like watching a newly released movie, right? There's some of these things that you just make your own optimizations.
And you chose to watch the lecture and not the movie.
Yeah, not because like I felt like I'm sacrificing. I actually preferred this. You see, so that's when you know you like something.
Yeah.
And that got me to where like doing good research, publishing papers in undergrad, and then admission into Berkeley and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And what made you go for PhD in computer science? Because a lot of people just do bachelor's and they do well. What was it teaching you more that you weren't able to unlock when you were doing the MTech and BTech?
Couple of things. Number one, I really wanted to come here to United States.
And why was that?
I think like around 2015 or something, when I got a chance to do an internship here through like a program called the Viterbi Indian Viterbi program, like Viterbi USC College of Engineering. They have a partnership there where they send like 30 students from India every year here. And I interned here, and like I got a chance to see the labs here, and the USC like Los Angeles, how professors operated here, publish papers, like that pride of like seeing your name on like an actual peer-reviewed publication. I think all that like made me feel much better about myself and like potential impact I can have. So that one thing, and the other thing is that I was not necessarily from a very well-to-do background financially, so I couldn't like just pay for masters and come here. Everybody, even masters, you gotta at least be able to pay for like one semester or like one quarter, and get a teaching assistantship after that, right? So I couldn't do all that. So PhD seemed like a much better way. And but the most important thing out of all is I actually love doing research. I think it was like love thinking about problems and like trying experiments. That autonomy to try my own ideas was fantastic. So I thought this was the right career for me. I would have been happy to finish PhD and just be a research scientist somewhere. It would have been like life accomplished for me.
Yeah. So I feel like even when I was getting into AI and machine learning in first year of my college, I got into the research bit because as you keep doing all the basic stuff like the Titanic data set and you keep moving ahead, then you get into the realm of building something of your own. And that's when I realized that I was spending a lot of time on research papers, which was great, but I wasn't focusing on other areas of life, like learning about other skills. So I prioritized breadth over the depth of the topic. What do you think is better, and what was more important at that point?
Look, I think I don't have the counterfactual of like what would have happened to me if I did more breadth first search than depth first search. I got to read a very interesting blog post by this guy Andrej Karpathy, very popular, right? So he around the same time in undergrad, I was pondering over this exact same question too. Should I try to learn more about like compilers, operating systems, like NLP, computer vision, like all these sort of different things? So should I just obsessively focus on that one topic I was working on, reinforcement learning? And he had written a whole blog post of how PhD is all about depth first search. Like you have to like show the world that you can go so deep in one thing. And maybe you can try to go deep in like another thing. But the most important thing is you don't memorize. You go deep into something that skill transfers to something else you want to do too. And so that's why like when you go deep into something new and learn so much about it, usually you're like able to translate that success somewhere else. I can give you another real life example. Mr. Beast, a YouTuber, right? All of us respect him. Like he obsessed about minute details, like what's the thumbnail, like what is the length of content, when do you upload it, all sorts of things, recording quality, and then like he created a whole career out of it. But he's able to take all that, and now he's basically running a business where he takes all the money he earns, creates videos that only he can create, but because where creating a video itself takes so much money. Like I gave everyone like $1 million, let's see what they did. Or like I made like 100 people compete for a cash prize of like $1 million. Like you can only do all these things if you actually have money. But because those videos are so unique, it brings in like hundreds of millions of views, and you turn all the money you spend into more money. And like he tried this burgers thing also, right? So that's when I realized like PhD is fine. Like you can go deep into something and it's still fine. Like it's not like you're unemployable. That skill set is like actually worth. And Zuckerberg talks about this too. Like usually when he hired early at Facebook, he really prioritized hiring people who who gathered a lot of expertise in one area that was so like deep enough that even if that expertise was not valuable to Facebook, he knew that those guys could go learn something else pretty fast.
So having a lot of A players together in one place is what led
Correct.
to what?
Yeah. Something where like they were like pretty obsessed about it and like went so far along than most people have.
You just mentioned that you came from not a well-off family. So when you come from a middle class background, you have that middle class thinking and you have these restrictions in your mind that, okay, I cannot do that, or I cannot access that, I cannot become that.
Yeah.
You have a lot of unknowns. How did you let go of that? Because the whole point of me starting YouTube and making these videos is to help people get awareness of what the opportunities are available to you.
Yeah.
And only when you know what is available to you, you can make a better choice in your life. So maybe when you came to United States and SF, what did you notice and how did it open up your mind?
Yeah. I mean, I have a very, very like cliche answer to this. You might not even think I'm telling the truth, but this is the truth. I used to just watch videos of Elon Musk on YouTube. I didn't know much about Elon Musk before I came to the US. And the moment I came here, like people were talking about his rockets and things like that. And like, so I was just like, went on YouTube and typed Elon Musk, and like there's a bunch of videos of him. And I watched those videos of where like he put in all his own money and watched like 3 rocket launches fail, and like was basically going close to bankruptcy, and still went and tried the 4th thing. And like his whole story of coming here as an immigrant, and like trying to find a job, and then doing a company because nobody hired him, and like converting all that winnings into the next company, doing that repeatedly. And that made me realize, okay, like nothing can truly stop you if you don't want to be stopped. Like nobody can really defeat you if you don't want to be defeated. You only die if you choose to die. I think that's what he said. Like, I don't ever give up. I'll have to be dead or incapacitated or something.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's the exact lines.
Yeah.
You've really watched it a lot of times then.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that gave me a lot of confidence. Okay, like but this is not even about the well-off thing. There's even another layer of problems that Indians go through, which is, we have all these visa problems. We have all these immigration issues.
Yeah.
We're on H-1Bs, or like it takes a while to become a manager and apply for a green card. Once you're there, like you have like kids and like, financial responsibilities, you have to pay mortgages. And then by the time you're like, late 30s, you lost all the drive and energy to like truly create something from scratch. But then, you know what? This is such a great thing. Most people don't even have this. So don't keep aiming for this, Maybe your kid will do a company. Like, this is like how a lot of Indians think, by the way.
Yeah.
And nobody's willing to take the risk of like getting deported and like trying to start their own thing, like living on like, one Subway burger a day.
You've done that?
I've done that in an internship where like I was an intern in Chicago, like for a summer. Back I was still in India, and like this was an internship, and the stipend was so low, and I badly wanted to buy a MacBook, like really badly wanted one, and I was using like a Dell laptop until then, so in order to save money, I used to just walk from the campus to a Subway pretty far, like for half an hour. And in Chicago, the prices were lower than like in Bay Area, so you get a nice meal, like and you get that foot long.
Yeah.
Half of it you eat there, half of it you take back and eat for the rest, and you can save a lot of money that way. And then at the end, I got a MacBook Pro, and I went back and I started coding a lot on it. So you can do anything you want. It's just like a little bit of patience and sacrifice needed.
Yeah, very interesting. So, one thing I observed when I went to a lot of these friends of mine who are working at big tech companies, they all have ideas, right? They're all like developers, they are PMs, and they all have a startup idea in their mind. And they're like, I'm just waiting for the next round of my equity to be vested for me to get that. And then I'll start working on that. And that's how everyone is. Everyone has like a side project or something that they're working on.
Yeah.
And you probably also had that when you were working at these companies, OpenAI and Google. What made you make the switch that, okay, this is over, I'm going to quit and I'm going to start something new? How did you develop that whole conviction, that confidence that most people in SF don't have?
So let me be like very, honest here that like my situation was not exactly the same as people typically doing side projects. So I don't want to like claim a lot of credit for, this guy was so brave and did it. I had like people were willing to fund me if I left. I had a certain guarantee of that. Of course, I put myself in that position. I'll give myself that credit, but it's not the same as someone who is not known or doesn't have the like brand reputation of being former like DeepMind or OpenAI or something. there are some benefits you get from having that. So I thought, okay, like worst case, I have a PhD also. I've written papers, close to 10,000 citations. I'll get a job. I'll get a professorship somewhere. Like I'm fine, Sure, it'll suck. My friends would have made way more money. I will feel like a loser internally, but I'll be fine, I had that sort of a mental cushion. But in terms of directly answering your question, when do you truly take the bet on yourself, like on your side project? I think it's just a question of like, just use the inversion technique. Is the suffering from continuing on your job less than the suffering more than the suffering that you would endure if you did your own company? Are you, which one is the suffering you're willing to endure? Like the one where you own your own stuff, that's like a very high chance of failure, but it's still your thing and your baby, and you had at least the chance to die without the regret of not having tried? Or is it the suffering of like constantly continuing with the same mentality of like working on something you don't enjoy, or like not something you really want to be doing, just because like it makes your like life less risky? And at some point you just make your decision based on like, hell yeah, like I'm just gonna go through it. Doesn't matter. For me it was actually an even more direct question. I think I'm good enough to run projects and execute on a vision with people, but I'm not going to get that fast in an existing organization by climbing ladders or like going through the process. I'm impatient. Maybe there's a miscalibration. Maybe I think I'm more qualified than what the world thinks I am. The only way to know is to try. And I was ready for the reality check. Okay, if my startup goes nowhere, nobody wants to work here, then the reality is I'm not good, and I'll accept that. But what if I was? What if there was a possibility that I might be good at this? I want to know that, and I don't want to wait for like 5 years to know that. I want to know it today. And I also had this other thing of like, this is my own feeling, by the way. I'm not going to project it on others. I could see in my own biological abilities that, it was some amount of like decline. Which is like, my memory power was like way better. It's still really good, like way above like most people. But at one point it was like so good that I felt like almost top of the world. I can remember anything without making any effort. I can like go 3 days and pull off all-nighters. I can't do that anymore. I can eat any time of the day before. I can't do that anymore. All this stuff, I could see decline. So I knew that the more years I waited, the decline is going to be even more. And all these are like unfair advantages you have, you want to capitalize on. Because as a startup founder, you don't have any advantage. The system is rigged against you. Like 99% of the startups are doomed to fail. So any unfair advantage that you have, you want to capitalize on that. And I would prioritize starting company before you turn 30. Or at least around that time.
And why is that?
Because of all the unfair advantages that you have when you're young. Elon also talks about this, like you don't have like mortgages, you don't have like a family to support yet. Depends on your state, honestly. But assuming all this is true for most people, you don't have all these other distractions. Look, it's like mind is full of distractions most of the time. Startup is all about focus. So these are not in alignment with each other. So the sooner you get to like de-risk an idea that is occupying your mind forever, the better. Because then at least you know that you gave the idea a fair shot and it failed because the idea was wrong at that time. But you at least have the satisfaction of having tried. So I prioritize all these things, and that's why like I push for starting a company as soon as possible.
Yeah, very cool. So you started Perplexity in August of 2022. That's also when OpenAI came out with ChatGPT a little later.
Yeah.
And what was the state of your mind at that point? Like it came instantly. GPT 3.5, everyone started using it, had that exponential curve. You were launching Perplexity as well. What was your mindset, and what were you pitching to VCs, as you said, betting against Google, no one's going to fund you. And so what was like your pitch, and how did you convince people to believe in your idea?
Yeah. So first of all, ChatGPT did not exist at the time. Even the product, the model 3.5 Turbo, that was a model that powered ChatGPT, that did not exist at the time. The pitch was mostly centered around another breakthrough that had happened around the time, which is OpenAI's Codex models that were powering GitHub's Copilot, which in my opinion is the most, like the first real sign that AI has transitioned from research to like delivering real product impact, being used by millions of people, and also had a monetization impact. Because on the day like they turned on like the monetization switch for Copilot, where they said, okay, people could pay $10 a month. I think they were already like having 100,000 people sign up to pay for it on the first day itself. That's like huge. Most products take like so many months to get there. And then that's like now like millions of people. Like if you looked at the earnings call of Microsoft this quarter, GitHub Copilot makes like $300 million in revenue. So they've actually 30x that number since 2022. So that's in 2 years. Right, and there's a lot more potential. So I knew that this was like a pivotal moment for building AI products. And the idea we pitched was like, imagine we did something like Codex for people like analyzing a lot of data over like tables, a bunch of relational databases and things like that. That was how it started. Of course, the search over glass was pitched, but it was not taken seriously. So we tried to like say, okay, we will search over like spreadsheets and databases and things like that. And we wanted to work on other people's internal data. It was, a clean idea. But nobody wanted to give us their data. They were like, why should we trust you guys? We don't even know who you are. There's no brand, nothing like. So we were like, okay, if you don't give us your data, we have to build something. So we'll just use external data. And I really like Twitter. I'm a big fan of the Twitter social network. So we just took Twitter and organized it into a form of like bunch of relational databases. And then we powered text-to-SQL search over that. And that was a very unique experience. You could, for the first time, ask questions like, what are the tweets that both Bezos and Musk liked? Or like tweets of Bezos that Musk has replied to. I would give you that funny like silver medal emoji tweet. And then like we would show these demos to like some investors, and they would really like it, and they would search over their own tweets and stuff. And I think that sort of got us like, a unique differentiated experience of search that you can build only with LLMs and you couldn't build before. And then we expanded our horizons of like, okay, what would it look like if we did it for LinkedIn or like GitHub or like organize all of them and allow people to search over all of them. And then we're like, okay, hell yeah, let's just do it over the whole web. And that became the Perplexity product. It was not really inspired by ChatGPT or anything like that. But the courage to launch it definitely came when ChatGPT launched. We're like, okay, this is cool. Like people were open to the idea of like asking questions and getting answers. So we were like, why not we have a different take on this, where you can ask a question here, get an answer, but you at least have the sources to verify if the answer is like right or not. And it's real time. There's no knowledge cutoff. And it's anonymous. There's no need to sign it. You just come here and start typing and ask. And, I think that people like that idea a lot. And ever since then, like we've been growing our usage, right? So it surprised me. I think what happened is we launched on December 7, 2022. And I thought, okay, like after a week or two, nobody's going to care. And we just used this demo to like get some enterprise contracts.
And did you first start with the Chrome extension? Because that's how I discovered it.
We just started with direct. That was all inspired by my obsession about Google. Like I said, like the landing page should just be the product. There should be no onboarding flow, nothing. It should just be a search bar, blank page, type, get an answer with sources. But I thought nobody's going to care. And then after 2 weeks, like the vacation started. So obviously you wouldn't expect anyone to use a 2-week-old product during a vacation, but people were actually using it more and more. The usage kept going up. People were sharing screenshots of typing their own name and like having this AI summary pop up about them. That was like very novel, and that led to more and more viral growth. And I thought, okay, that's just like a short-term virality is going to drop, but it kept sustaining. The growth kept on sustaining over the entire month of January.
So organic was like word of mouth was the
Completely
biggest
organic.
traction channel.
Yeah, I only had like, myself, I had like 3,000 to 4,000 followers or something. And the company account had like, 5,000 or something like that. It was pretty minimal. But it kept on growing that we felt like, okay, there's something here. We don't need to pivot. Let's keep going. And then February kept on going. So we said, okay, let's actually raise some capital.
And at that point, what was like your North Star metric that you were tracking for?
Number of queries a day. It's always been our North Star metric. Because any other thing doesn't correlate with like increasing the impact of the product and the value of the product, because the more queries people ask, the more like expansion of the index and like the coverage of queries that we can handle, infrastructure, and like the quality of the AI models, like more data we collect, flywheels. So that is the one query that matters the most to us. And that kept on going up. And end of February, we were like, okay, this is actually somewhat real. So let's raise some capital. Interestingly, it happened around the same time Bing Chat was being launched and Google Bard was being announced. So any fundraising we've done, there's always been like so many like last minute problems to deal with. We're convincing people to still invest despite like competition. But I've gotten so used to it now that when things go normal, that's when I get even more edgy, because every week or the other, there's some problem.
And what have you observed about the VC business, right? Like, what do they look for? And when things like this come up, like, Bing Chat is coming up, Google Bard is coming up, what do they think? Why did they choose to invest after all of this competition?
Look, a lot of them, for like every round, we always had more people who didn't want to invest, but that kept reducing. What do they look for? Look, I think they're making decisions with limited information. They don't have the vision that you have, whatever is in your head. It's your job to communicate that in the best way possible. Some people use decks for that. I also use decks, but
What is decks?
Like slide decks, like pitch decks. But I think the better you communicate and pitch, the better your chances are. And I would say that like the way we positioned the A round pitch was like, look, we don't know if this is really going to be a breakout consumer hit company. All we know is that despite us not really trying to grow, it's growing. Look at the trend. The growth rates are clearly there. Yes, the cost per query is very high. That's why we want to raise money. If it was not high, we would need that much money. So we are betting on the fact that this technology is on an increasing curve. The models are going to keep improving. The cost per query is going to go down tremendously. And since the day we said it, it's gone down by 100x. And so with the same amount of money, you'll be able to serve a lot more users over time. So you're betting on something that's really going to work. And when the cost per query goes down and the models are going to get more and more capable in smaller sizes, then we are heading towards a world where whatever is like, 1 in 10 queries hallucinate today would be 1 in 100 in a year, 1 in 1,000 in 2 years, 1 in 10,000 in 3 years. It's going to like increase its quality exponentially. So you cannot understand that world today. It doesn't exist yet. So you're betting on the potential of getting there. And venture is all about outsized returns. It's not about like, 70% chance of this working. It's about like, there's 10% chance of this working, but that if it works, I get like 100x returns. 90% chance it doesn't work, okay, but at 10% I get like 100x. And in venture, you can only make your name by investing in something that 10x, 100x, or 1000x. Anything else doesn't matter, because you could get that by putting money into S&P 500, right? You got to beat the S&P 500. So that's why like LPs put money into VC funds. So that is like that characteristic was always there in Perplexity. Like this business might not work, but if it works, it's really gonna work. And every time we we peeled off the risk layers, Like when we went to the B round, we were serving like at least 1 million or 2 daily queries. So we had like way more traction. We had actually real revenue. We had monetized users through subscription plans. So we came forth with like a clear growth plan and like the way we monetize and things like that. And we raised money for the B round. And then by the time we got to the next round, we had like a lot more users and a lot more revenue. And then similarly, right? So I think as the risk layers keep getting peeled off, think about this like an onion and like different layers, like, different risk layers. And the later stage you are, the deeper you are into the onion.
Yeah. So when you say that generative AI is working, when you were pitching them to them, when you say work, what exactly does that mean? Because today morning I was checking, there was like a number which said that Microsoft in the last 1 year has lost $5 billion net in this whole thing of like running these generative models, the Bing chat and other things, Copilot is there. And one thing that we've observed in all of these generative AI companies is that they bleed a lot of money, and the profitability, the revenue isn't that much right now.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? How does that happen? And what have you thought in terms of the revenue for Perplexity in the future?
Yeah, first of all, this is not very unique to AI. It's existed in every form of business in the past. Google never turned in a profit for like until 2002 or something like that. So since 1997 or 8, it was founded. For like 5 or 6 years continuously, it was losing money. Amazon is very famous for like losing more and more money every year.
They pay no taxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Until a point where it really started making so much money. So Uber, or in general delivery apps, have been famous for like being cash burning businesses, right? And only recently Uber has started becoming profitable. So this characteristic, if people were judging based on how you said it, we shouldn't have that many delivery apps. We shouldn't have like that many like e-commerce apps, right? But we did. So just like that, I think in AI too, like all these businesses will eventually have to figure out how to make money. There's no, running away from that. I think there are 2 classes of AI companies. Like one is those that train their own foundation models. That's like incredibly expensive. Like one run could cost you $1 billion. Something could go wrong. You spend another $1 billion to get it right. And you might want to train even bigger models. That might cost you $10 billion. All that hasn't happened yet, but potentially can happen. So any company like OpenAI or Anthropic is like really in the business of like scaling these models, by design has to burn more money than it can make. And that's okay, because whatever model it ends up producing might eventually recover all the costs by being such an amazing API that you can plug into and build applications. And for the application layer companies that are burning money by paying for the API calls, you eventually have to figure out a way to deliver value to the end user that makes more money for you than the amount you pay for the API calls. And that's a bet you're making on like the API calls cost going down and the value you provide.
What you charge for it is.
So both have to simultaneously happen. And then that's how you begin to see the margins. So this is generally how things have worked, right? Uber figured out a way to like gain market share by pricing all the rides so low. And then now, just getting from this street to another street costs you so much money. That's how they get back the money, or like other businesses, other bundles. So you got to be creative in like many aspects. Our belief is that as a company, since we're not training foundation models, we have been pretty cost efficient. Like we don't actually burn that much money. And the open source revolution and like models getting smaller and more capable, cost of the API going down like continuously for the last year or so, and models getting like more and more reliable has made sure that like, we can continue to serve as many users, spend more on like getting the answer as right as possible, and monetize the users also simultaneously through subscription plans, and see some, at least like, at a product operations level, we try to be profitable. At a business operations level, like actually paying people and things like that, it's pretty difficult to like see profits.
So in terms of AI search which you've built, there are 2 ways, right? There's either the subscription plan which you talked about, or there's the advertising model. How do you decide which is better, and in what terms?
Yeah, look, I think like in terms of margins, advertising has always been a higher margin than subscriptions. The average revenue per user for Google or Facebook is way higher than ChatGPT for a reason. In ChatGPT, you charge $20 per month per user who's paying, and most of the users don't pay. Like less than 10% of the users pay. So essentially, your average revenue per user is much lower than $20 a month, right? It's like more like single-digit dollars per month. The average revenue per user on Google or Meta is like more than $200 a month. So that's how these businesses print so much money. So you have to figure out something that works. Maybe subscriptions could work. Maybe you could charge up. Like maybe you could imagine a world where like there's a model like GPT-5 or Claude 4, and you could charge like $100 a month instead of $20 a month. But then the access to that technology is also like limited. It'll become more like a Bloomberg terminal style business where like a few people with affordability can pay a lot of money, but most people will not be able to use it. So it really depends on like what kind of company, what kind of service you want to deliver to the user. If it's like a really like solid research assistant, like almost like an employee that works with you all the time, then subscription is the right model. But then not everybody can afford it.
Yeah.
But if it's like, oh, high quality answer engine that just gives you like accurate answers to anything you ask and like helps you like correct grammar and things like that, then you do have to figure out a different model than subscriptions because all that service will be basically available for free for most people.
And you still want to stick to subscriptions and not advertising?
No, we are going to do advertisements too.
And how would that look like in terms of the user workflow?
Yeah, it's still not like nailed down yet. It's still like we're in early stages. But I do think like there will be one way to do it without compromising on like accuracy of the answer, transparency to the user, all those things. Not go on the same path as Google.
Yeah. So I just got this news that Google just lost the lawsuit, and the judges have ruled that they are actually a monopoly in the search space. And now that's something that they've been fighting for a long time, saying that they have so many other businesses and they're not a monopoly in most of them that they operate in. So what do you think about that? And the search space has been dominated by Google. So for you to take up a majority of that space, how do you think about that in the future?
I mean, I think in general, I'm pro competition, right? Like we are a very small player here, and it's important that people get to pick whatever choice works best for them. And I don't have the specifics of like the ruling and things like that to comment deeply there, but in general, I think like more competition is only good because that pushes everybody to like keep the service at as high quality as possible, and consumers win at the end of the day. Like you guys all win if there's competition in search.
So when you hire people over here at Perplexity, what exactly do you look for, and what skills, mindset do you look for, and how did you like learn, okay, that this is what I want to look for when you're hiring people?
I mean, we are a startup, so the kind of people who really thrive here are those who can work with like ambiguity and like the speed, like velocity that we need to like ship at this like crazy pace every single week, and taking ownership of like the work that they do, and like also ensuring quality is high. Ability to learn new things really quickly also, because you got to be multifaceted. You're not just meant to be an expert at one thing. You should be able to multitask and wear many kind of gloves to like do different kind of tasks. So we look for some track record of like these things in the past, and we look for young and hungry people, but experienced people are also like working here. So it's just a prediction we make basically. Okay, would this person like thrive in a fast moving startup and be able to do a lot of things simultaneously and ensure high quality is delivered on record time? Like it's not easy to hire such people, but like we try our best to like optimize for that.
You've been through the interview process of big companies as well. Yeah. So what have you observed in terms of what they look for and what you're looking for as a startup?
It's very different.
I think like Google has this philosophy of like not having role specific interviews and just hiring for like the person and then figuring out the role for them later. That's a philosophy. I don't think that scales well. I think it's a good philosophy in the beginning because it gets you like these generalists who can do a lot of things. But I don't think it's served them well now. Like figuring out projects for people is always like harder. Sometimes you do want the domain experts to join you and like help you like build something faster. I think OpenAI's hiring was more focused on research, at least when I was there. So that might attract a bunch of people who are like more into like really deeply thinking about things and like training models and stuff. I think product engineering recruiting is pretty different. So I haven't like tried to copy anything from there. One thing I've at least tried to do is like try to interview as many people like as possible myself and check for culture fit. Like, can they like really thrive here? Are they really interested in making impact? Or can they move fast? Are they excited about moving fast? Is the like intensity going to be there? So I check for like past track record of doing these things.
And degrees?
I tend not to focus on that much.
There you go. People who are from
Yeah.
India have that mindset.
You can never win there. Basically, you can say, oh, like, yeah, IIT. Oh, which IIT? Oh, Kanpur or Madras or like Bombay. Oh, then like someone's from Stanford or MIT or Berkeley. Then, okay, like, did they work at Google before? They work at like Facebook before. You can keep on going and adding more and more like
Tags.
criteria for like elitism. And like at the end of the day, what matters is, can you get the job done really well and communicate really well here? And that's the most important thing. If you cannot do that, then it doesn't matter where you study. And if you can do that again, it doesn't matter where you study. So we have like processes in place to like filter candidates. Obviously, look, if you're not from a reputed college, it's harder for you to stand out. No, I'm not like, denying that. Because everybody has only limited time to go through all the applications. So you have to figure out a way to stand out somehow, get the founder's attention or in some other manner, or do something exceptional that, gets you on the same level of visibility. But after you're in the process,
Right.
it's all the same process. Like you answer the same questions. It's not applied in any different way.
Yeah. You just mentioned about OpenAI. Sam Altman launched SearchGPT with a tweet, and everyone in the comments were just talking about Perplexity.
Yeah.
What do you think about SearchGPT in general? And OpenAI is now again in this whole competition, and recently also raised $250 million at what, 2.5 to 3 billion valuation. So what do you think of it as a competitor?
Yeah, look, I think like one thing is good about it, which is until they did this, everybody was like, why do I need Perplexity when there's ChatGPT? But clearly there is a need for a separate differentiated UI that always sources content from the web and gives answers grounded in web results. So the hypothesis of Perplexity has been validated by a reputed company like OpenAI. In addition to that, I think competition is good. Like I said, like Google also launched AI overviews, which is similar to SearchGPT, right? So I think in general, competition is good. It makes us move faster, and us moving faster will make them move faster, and like products will improve at a crazier pace. Of course, it's harder on like at a personal level because you got to like work intensely for even longer period of time to fend off competition. But if something was meant to be easy, it's not meant to be great, right? If it was actually easy.
Yeah.
So the other thing I would say is like big companies always try to do these things. Like Google launched Google Plus because they thought they could compete with Facebook, or Microsoft tried to do Bing against Google, or like historically this has just always been the case that like some other big company has always tried to like launch a product that's feature or like separate product that is like full-time what another smaller company does. And smaller companies have tremendous advantage in focus. Like Bruce Lee has this code, like I don't fear the man who practices 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who practices one kick 10,000 times. So that the second is what a startup that does one thing is. The first is what like a bigger startup or like a bigger company that does a lot of different things. It's like ChatGPT, SearchGPT, Sora, DALI, GPT-5, safety.
Do you think is that is bad for OpenAI to be launching everything? Like they're into every.
It depends on their goals. Like if their goal is like, I want to be the next Google, then you do have to show your caliber in doing a lot of things, because Google does do a lot of things. There's like Gmail, Maps, Chrome, Android, Search, YouTube, devices, Pixel, so G Suite. So there's a lot of things Google does, and like you do have to show your caliber in doing a lot of things.
That's an interesting take on competition, because what I have been reading when I first started learning about startups from 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel is that competition is for losers. You'd never want to be in that space. So that is a different take.
Yeah. I think competition will always be there once you've identified something that's valuable. I think Peter Thiel is saying that because it's a provocative way of saying things. But I think competition will begin to exist once you have shown traction. People with more resources than you will try to compete with you. It's happened with Facebook. It's happened with Amazon. Walmart try to compete with them. Barnes and Noble try to compete with them. So it's always going to be the case that like we'll have competition.
When you first came to SF, what do you think? What makes it different from other countries, other places like Bangalore?
I would say like this. It's not particularly about SF. In general, in Bay Area, I would say the people are more interested in hearing and judging your idea than knowing who you are. Of course, knowing who you are helps. Like the same thing is said by Mark Andreessen or Peter Thiel. Even if they said such a trivial thing, you're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Like someone else said it, you're like, yeah, whatever. But still, like, if you can make a point that is interesting and non-trivial, very different, people are interested in listening to you and like hearing you out. And there's always the mentality of like, what if this was actually correct? What if this actually worked? I think, by the way, I haven't lived in India for years, so I don't know if this is still true, right? I'm prefacing this because I don't want angry people commenting, oh, like, look at this guy. But at least when I was there, it was always like, that's not going to work. Like
people are willing to bet on outlandish ideas here.
Outlandish ideas, and also just like willing to judge someone's like opinion based on the merit of the idea alone and not who they are. I think decoupling the person and the idea is something that exists here more, I would say.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a lot more capital here and things like that, the benefits from capital.
In the last 12 years, you went from an 18-year-old who was just getting into an IIT to this having a big company over here in generative AI in US. What skills do you think has helped you get here that a 20-year-old can take?
Relentlessness. I would say that's the number one skill. I even wanted to buy that domain.
Relentless.com. That is...
You know who owns it? Like
that is Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
How was the raising from him? Did you get to meet him?
Yeah. See, he's incredible. Still, like one of the smartest people. Like in terms of strategically thinking about things. And relentlessness is the most. Like I would bet on it. Like if you take a 20-year-old, I've seen this repeatedly, both in my own like generation as well as like next generations. The guys who are like girls or anybody who's, it's not necessarily the smartest person that makes the most progress after a decade. It's the most relentless person. Of course, you need to have some talent, right? You can't be like being relentless in something you're not like having some ability to execute more than other people. But let's assume that's there. Then I think the relentlessness will like truly be the differentiating factor after a decade of work.
Yeah. 2 last questions. Number 1 is about how should a generative AI company think about value? Because you just tweeted that, some of the biggest businesses started as wrappers. When you were talking about Starbucks, Peet's Coffee, they were taking beans from them.
Exactly.
So a lot of generative AI companies are starting from built on models that other people have built out. Could be open source, could be closed source. But how should they think about building value then?
Well, it's a difficult question. I don't even think we have done it entirely yet, right? So it's not like I would have the magic formula yet. But I would just say that the more and more orthogonal value you're building on top of the LLM, the better. In our case, it's the fact that actually, like in building crawling and indexing, is like a lot of work. We haven't still even finished it, and it's going to take like months or years to like truly finish it, and it's going to take forever to keep it updated and like incrementally improving. So we are working on all of that. We know all the hard work needed to do that, and we also do a lot of hard work on orchestration, what to do for each query, like how to respond to each query, what's the UI, like what's the UX going to look like, all this stuff that's so custom, and quality improvements and stuff, that speed, making the cost lower and lower, better models, cheaper models. Like all this is stuff that you're doing outside of like, training the better model and things like that. So I think that's going to add a lot of value. Also marketing, like how you communicate your product, what the product means to the user, what kind of value it like how their habits change over time, and more of their day-to-day workflows happen through your product. These are ways in which you can build your own value.
Yeah.
And I think most people are like so upset, and when they use the word rapper, it feels like so derogatory,
superficial, like
you feel like insulted or something. But look, everyone's a rapper. Like OpenAI is a Azure NVIDIA rapper, or venture capital is a rapper over people who actually have money that are giving to the VCs to invest, or like I just think like at the end, when NVIDIA is, you can joke, is like a TSMC rapper, because the fabrication doesn't happen inside NVIDIA.
Yeah.
So
rappers are not bad.
Netflix runs on AWS, so it's an AWS wrapper. So there are like rappers at all levels. It's just you don't realize it because they've given you so much value that you don't care. And in the early stages of a company's life, the value is still being created. So you tend to focus on like places where you think like, oh, the business can potentially fail. But zoom out and think like, okay, this thing really works. And this builds sticky habits and retention.
Yeah.
And daily workflows are going to be based on this. Then nobody's going to be discussing like which model it's using or like which servers it's renting and stuff. Nobody cares actually.
Brilliant. The last question, Aravind, is if you were in shoes of Ishan Sharma today, what would you ask Aravind Srinivas?
Well, that's an interesting question. Maybe I would just ask like, what is like, best way to deal with failure? I think that's the thing that I would have, whether I was you or like anybody else, I would say a lot of people overreact to it. They tend to take it seriously, tend to judge a lot, like make like short-term decisions and stuff. I think the mentality of like always looking for the long term is important, right? Do you follow cricket?
I do, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, like my favorite example in cricket is MS Dhoni. I think he is a truly remarkable captain in the sense.
I got to meet him actually in Bangalore.
Oh, that's awesome. Amazing. So he's there was these test series abroad where he used to lose like 4-0, 5-0 and come back. It would be very humiliating. And he would sit through these horrible press conferences and answer questions. But think about it, like all the people that he brought onto the team then are the ones who eventually ended up going and winning abroad. Like all these guys, Kohli, Rohit Sharma, who are like legends now of their own right, are people that Dhoni took a bet on and didn't drop them from the teams and played the long game. And I think like that's a lesson to learn there, that don't overreact to small failures. Like always focus on the long-term game. And I think that's if you are a young person and you want to like think about building your own thing, one of the best leadership lessons is like looking at Dhoni's career and like seeing what all he did.
Yeah. Incredible. Thank you so much, Aravind, for taking out the time.
Awesome.
This was epic, very insightful. I wish you all the best for Perplexity.
Thank you.